Right now, on Saturday the 15th of August, 2026, the most talked about housing statistic is not a house price. It is a ratio. Women now need 12 times their annual salary to buy a home. Men need 8 times. Those two numbers have been circulating in affordability research this week, and on Thursday the 13th of August, Euronews asked the blunt question, why do women struggle more than men to buy a home? The answer is not simply that property is expensive. Property is expensive for everyone. The real story is that the same market hits women harder because their salaries, their savings, and their borrowing power are all lower. That 12 versus 8 gap is not a housing market anomaly. It is the point where the gender pay gap turns into a wealth gap you can measure in bricks and mortgage debt. To understand the ratio, you have to remember what it actually measures. It is the price of a typical home divided by the typical annual salary for a group. Imagine a flat priced at £320,000. If a man earns £40,000 a year, that flat costs 8 times his salary. If a woman earns roughly £26,700, the exact same flat costs 12 times her salary. The property has not changed. The asking price has not changed. The only difference is who is doing the buying. That is the crucial point. A price-to-income ratio sounds neutral, but it is not. It exposes how far a salary stretches, and women's salaries simply do not stretch as far. When someone says women need 12 times their salary, they do not mean women are looking at more expensive homes. They mean the ordinary home is mathematically less affordable because the income side of the equation is smaller. Nearly 50 years ago, full-time women workers in the United States earned just 62 cents for every dollar earned by men. That famous figure has improved, but the improvement has not translated into equal home buying power. The research highlighted this week points to a consistent pay gap and, just as importantly, to a savings gap. A lower salary means less money left over after rent, food, transport, and childcare. That makes building a deposit slower. Deposit saving is already the hardest part of buying a home. For many women, it is not a single year of saving that counts. It is the compounding disadvantage of earning less across a decade. Every year a man can put away a larger sum, the gap widens. By the time both buyers reach the same age, the man may have a deposit ready, while the woman is still years away. That is why the deposit barrier is not just a pay gap story. It is a time story. There is another layer that turns the ratio from bad to brutal: lender income multiples. Many UK lenders will only lend around 4.5 times a borrower's annual income. If the same flat costs £320,000, a man earning £40,000 can borrow about £180,000. A woman earning £26,700 can borrow about £120,000. The deposit each needs is therefore very different. But because her income is lower, she has also saved more slowly. So she faces a double penalty: she can borrow less, and she has probably saved less. Lenders are not necessarily running a gender-biased calculation. They are using an income multiple. But the effect is gendered because the incomes going into the calculation are unequal. That is what turns a 4.5 times lending rule into a 12 times property price problem. The real cost of homeownership is not the house. It is the gap between what you earn and what the bank will accept. This week the conversation has sharpened. Euronews ran its analysis on Thursday the 13th of August, and it landed at a moment when European housing affordability is already under pressure. In late July, an affordability report looked at the salary needed to afford a €1 million home across Europe. The conclusion, even if you never aim for a €1 million property, is that high prices stretch ordinary salaries in almost every major city. When you overlay the gender pay gap on that stretched affordability, women fall out of the ownership equation faster. This is not a slow-moving historical trend. It is happening right now, in real time, as rents stay high and mortgage rates reshape what first-time buyers can borrow. The fact that women need 12 times their salary is not a curiosity. It is a live affordability warning for roughly half the population. The current impact is not just delayed homeownership. It is a transfer of wealth that compounds. Home equity is the largest source of household wealth for ordinary people. When someone buys later, they spend longer renting, and that rent is someone else's mortgage. They also miss years of property price growth. If a woman buys 5 or 10 years later than her male counterpart, she builds less equity by retirement. That gap shows up later in lower housing security, higher housing costs in old age, and a greater risk of poverty after work. Single women and single mothers are hit hardest, because there is no second income to bridge the deposit gap. This is why the housing market is not a side issue in gender equality. It is one of the main engines of the wealth gap, and right now it is running against women. Looking ahead, there is little in the current data to suggest the 12 versus 8 gap will close quickly. If house prices keep rising even modestly faster than wages, every multiple becomes harder to reach. If female wage growth remains slower, the gap widens at the top end of the market first, in cities where the €1 million home report showed salary thresholds climbing. What would change the picture? 3 things. Faster closure of the gender pay gap, so the salary side of the ratio improves. Deposit support that recognizes lower lifetime earnings, not just first-time buyer status. And housing supply that actually lowers the price side of the equation. Without those, the likely near-term outlook is stability at best, and at worst a drift toward 13 or 14 times salary for women in expensive regions. The current evidence suggests we should watch this ratio the way we watch inflation, as a single number that reveals a much bigger strain. So why do women need 12 times their salary to buy a home when men need 8? Because the housing market does not operate in isolation. It magnifies whatever already exists in the labor market. Women still earn less on average, save more slowly, and can borrow less under standard lender rules. The result is the same flat, the same asking price, but 2 very different paths to ownership. The 12 versus 8 ratio is therefore not really about property. It is about pay, savings, time, and policy. If you care about housing affordability, you have to care about closing the gender pay gap. If you want more first-time buyers, you have to design deposit schemes that do not just reward people who can already save quickly. That is the wider implication for everyone, not only women. A market that excludes half its potential buyers on income is not a healthy market. It is an early warning sign.